Shalom, giving all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakadash, and double honor to the elder apostles, elder bishops, and brothers on down at Great Millstone. Shalom to the whole elect. This is your brother Ra'ai Banyamyan, here to share another lesson. This one will be called Another Step Closer. Jamaica authorizes Operation Birthright. Alright, now, when I first saw this article, it was suspect. What caught my eye is the word birthright. And as we all know, in the book of Genesis, it talk about the birthright that was taken, that was transferred, from Esau to Jacob. But I'm gonna go into the article. I'm gonna share some scriptures, get into the birthright briefly, and close it out. All right. So it says here, this is the source of the article is the Jamaican Observer, and it was written September 14th of this year. So continuing on, it says Operation Birthright to target vulnerable and undocumented Jamaicans. Subheading: with an estimated 200,000 Jamaicans possessing no legal identification, the government is seeking to provide free birth certificates for at least 11,000 of the most vulnerable in this cohort, though it's through its Operation Birthright initiative. Alright, see, scriptures tell us to never trust an enemy. Now, the birthright, they are seeking to give these people identification, or the most vulnerable, of the population. As with the pandemic, they said that the most vulnerable was the elderly, right? Which is who they are talking about here. The elderly was the first most vulnerable, and then they carried down to the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. And so scripture says never trust an enemy, and I'm gonna get that real quick in the book of Sirach. 12 and 10. It says, never trust thy enemy, for like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness. And we all know that these agendas, it goes back to Esau, Edom, and the other nations. Alright, so whatever it is, the additional, we need to, scrutinize it. We need to keep an eye on it. And I'm gonna touch on birthright briefly, just to give some context to it. Why is that word being used? Operation Birthright, right? So for that, I'm gonna visit the book of Genesis. I'm gonna start with chapter 25 and read from verse 29, and I'm gonna stop at probably verse 34. And it says, and Jacob sought pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. Now remember that word, faint, for later on down your lesson. I'm going to get into something else. Alright. So faint, exhausted, or weary. Faint, exhausted, or weary. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name also called Edom. Alright. Let's go into the word Edom. It means red. Idumean, descendants of Esau, land of Edom, or Idumea. So Edom means red, Shashua. And Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, Behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me? So you say, well, it ain't worth, in the meal. Well, what good is it, if I die? But he couldn't endure. He couldn't endure the hunger and stuff a little bit longer. So Esau pretty much, even back then, he is of the microwave mentality. You know what I'm saying? Continuing on, and Jacob said, Swear to me this day. And he sware unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. And continuing on in 2 chapters after, Genesis 27, and let's see, and 28. This is the blessings and the curses and stuff pertaining to the birthright, right? So Genesis 27:28, it says, Therefore the Most High gave thee the dew of heaven, and the fatness of the earth, and plenty of corn and wine. It says, verse 29, Let people serve thee, and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's son bow down to thee. Cursed be everyone that cursed thee, and blessed be he that blessed thee. So for a time, he was blessed. Esau was blessed. You know what I'm saying? And to those who curse Esau, the Most High would punish them. But he gave that blessing, unto Jacob, right? Through impatience, and through Jacob being subtle, that blessing was transferred also to Jacob. And skipping on down to verse 35 a little bit. This is where Jacob received the blessing. And he said, Thy brother came with subtlety and had taken away my blessing. This is where he realized what it is really went on. What is he gave up? And he said, Is not he rightly named Jacob? For he had supplanted me these 2 times. Let's go into that word, supplanted. There's just some context to give for that word birthright. So here it is. It says the right of the firstborn, primogeniture. So in cultures, ours as well as in Hamite cultures, the firstborn, he gets the more wives, more wild green land, so on and so forth. And then the other brothers after the firstborn, they get their portion. But the cream of a father's inheritance goes towards his firstborn. And since Esau was the firstborn, that was his right. But because of his impatience and due to prophecy, the Most High, he gave that blessing to Jacob. Right, so supplant. So, and he said, Is not he rightly named Jacob? For he had supplanted me these 2 times. Yeah, that was the word I wanted to go in, supplanted. Yes. Circumvent, take by the heel, follow at the heel, assail, insidiously, overreach, to supplant, to hold back, to overreach. So, he came with subtlety, right? He came with subtlety to take his birthright. And behold, now he had taken away my blessing, and he said, Hast thou not reserve a blessing for me? And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, Behold, I have made him thy lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for thy servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son? And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept, because he knew what it is that he gave up, Verse 29, and Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and the dew of the heaven above. Right, through Esau's building and his structures, his weaponry, his fighting skill, he was blessed with these things. And it goes into that in verse 40. And by thy sword shall thou live, his military, and shall serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, and that thou shalt break the yoke from off his neck. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, The days of mourning for my father are at hand, then I will slay my brother Jacob. Right? So that is where they get the Operation Birthright. That Operation Birthright did not originated from the Jamaicans down there, which are of the tribe of Benjamin. Alright, so now that you know, due to the birthright was originally Esau's, right, and that he gave it away because he was faint and that he was impatient. So remember that at the end, Operation Birthright. Alright, going back to the one thing I don't like about this, it closed it out after a while. Let's see if I could bring it back up again. Jamaica Observer. Jamaica Observer. Operation Birthright. Alright, so it says that the Operation Birthright initiative is for the most vulnerable in the Jamaican society. And we already read that we ought not to trust our enemies in the book of Sirach, chapter 12 and verse 10. Continue reading the article. It says, reducing the number of undocumented people will be crucial as the government gets ready to roll out the National Identification System, NIDS, and encourage increased participation in the voluntary program. That's voluntary for now, it's going to be mandatory later on. This is according to Prime Minister Andrew Holness, who pointed out that a birth certificate forms the basis of one's identity and will be a necessary document for verification under NIDS, right? That is the National Identification System, which seeks to establish a safe, reliable structure to enable the collection and storage of citizens' identification information. Because this birth certificate is the foundation document, the NIDS is built on top of this. So someone applying for their NIDS card would have to prove that they were born in Jamaica on the date formally certified and registered by their parents so as to establish citizenship. Holness said. There's the Prime Minister right there. Holness noted, however, that while it is important for all Jamaicans to have this foundation document, it is not just needed for an IDS, but is crucial for getting access to services. For example, in registering for school, for registering a child for school. Now, they did this with a Real ID Act here in America, because remember, they had the ID card and the driver's license. There was just a regular card with your date of birth, driver's license number, expiration date, so on and so forth. Now the driver's license has a chip inside of it, just like the credit card has you know a chip inside of it. And even with the regular license, they have one. You see, right now you can use it to go into a federal building, but I think there's another one that they have with a gold insignia on the license, here in Pennsylvania, where you can use that to enter a federal building like the IRS or whatever. But the regular one you cannot enter. Now, they haven't fully mandated these things yet, but it's in place, man. You know what I'm saying? So what's it saying in this document here is pretty much the same thing, that they needed to access services like registering a child for school. That is critical. A lot of people use these services. You know, and this is why Scripture says that we should not trust our enemies. It says the Prime Minister said Operation Birthright is an important step for equity to ensure that every Jamaican, including those who do not have the birth certificate, gets a chance to participate in NIDS. Financed by the Inter-American Development Bank, IDB, at the cost of $50 million, at the cost of $50 million. The program, which falls under the National Identification System, NIDS, will be executed through the Registrar General's Department. Now, you see who financing it? The Inter-American Bank. Remember when I said earlier that this idea did not come from Benjamin or the Jamaican? So Esau, he wants that birthright back through his electrical system. You know what I'm saying? Now we're gonna try to find out real quick who at least heads the Inter-American Bank, to give some more context as to what is going on. Inter-American Development Bank. Inter-American Development Bank. Let's go to it's just briefly the Inter-American Development Bank, or the IDB. IADB is an international financial institution headquartered in Washington, D.C., United States of America, and serving as the largest source of development financing for Latin American and Caribbean countries. Established in 1959, the IDB supports Latin America and Caribbean economic development, social development, and regional integration by lending to governments and government agencies, including state corporations. This is what it looks like downtown DC. Right? It has membership of 48 countries. The president is Rena Irene Maja. I know I'll butcher that, but yeah. So this is it. Let's see if I can find out who she is. So they involved in the Caribbean. They gave it's showing here that they gave Haiti $2.2 billion. So Benjamin is not forwarding or funding these kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Let's see here. The history at the first Pan American Conference in 1890, the idea of a development institution for Latin America was first suggested during the earliest efforts to create an inter-American system. The idea became a reality under the initiative proposed by President Juscelino Kubitschek of Brazil. This is one of the founders of it. I read a book on how the 49ers, they would change their names. They wouldn't always have names like Cohen, where it's easy to tell who they are. They would transfer their names, especially when they dealt with the slaves in Brazil and in the Caribbean. They would give they would change their last name to Hispanic names. So all these names here, like Minas, Gaucho, Jerias, those are names that they transfer. Guzman, those are names that they transfer from the original 49er names, to Spanish names to hide their true identity. So some people, may look at them, look at Hispanic, but they goes back to the lineage of Amalek. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to go into that history a little bit. That is not Benjamin forwarding his own agenda, is by Esau Edom predominantly, and also of Amalek. All right. As she says, financed by the Inter-American Development Bank at the cost of $50 million, the program, which falls under the National Identification System, NIDS, will be executed through the Registrar's General Department. Minister without portfolio in the government of the Prime Minister Floyd Green said Operation Birthright is one of the most transformational projects the government has ever embarked on. Continuing on, it says Operation Birthright is the first comprehensive approach to find our most vulnerable citizens who do not have a birth certificate and who cannot afford to get a certificate, and to provide them with birth certificate free of cost. So it's a charge to the government, but for the people, it's free of cost. And we all know, that we should not, trust our enemy, as per Sirach 12, at verse 10. All right. It says, he noted that by providing birth certificates for those not in possession of this vital document, the government will unlock so much more for them, noting that this is part of the administrator's drive to digitally transform Jamaica. Right, so that everything is going digital. All this is a global agenda, not just here in the United States. And this will be one of the foundation documents required for them to have the national identification card and for them to really step into our new digital society. So this is where this thing is going. Esau moved with gradualism. They said here in the States that by the end of December, the money is going to go to CBDC, digital currency. So this is just another step for them in the islands, to go into that beast system. It says, Green said the program will involve partnering with members of parliament to nominate at least 60 people to access this service, and will also include working with the National Youth Parliament to help sign people up who are in need of this initiative. So the vulnerable is the old and elderly who need the birth certificates, and pretty much young people. The old people, they need the benefits, and the young people, they start out after high school and college, to get into jobs. So they need these documents, quick to get into, the working society. So those are the ones that they targeting, and everybody else in the middle, they're going to fall in line at some point. It says, meanwhile, modernizing the state specialist, IDB Benjamin Rosette welcomed Operation Birthright, noting that it is an important step to strengthen the foundation of the Jamaican society in which everyone has a solid base on which they can build their lives. For the IDB, it is an honor to support the government of Jamaica in guaranteeing the most basic of rights, legal identity for all Jamaicans, he said. Dr. Angela Brown, who represented the leader of the opposition, also endorsed the initiative by pointing out the opposition supports any proactive action that one may take to ensure that we can get individuals who don't have a birth certificate with one in their hand. Now remember, we in Trinidad, we have the same party system. You have the opposition leadership, and I remember in the past, sometimes the opposition leader, they used to speak out against these things, but now even the opposition leadership is in league with the with the government that is actually pushing this thing. And the scriptures talk about justifying the wicked in Proverbs 17 and 15. It says, he that justified the wicked and condemneth the just, even they both are an abomination unto the Most High. So there's even no opposition to it. There's no like, look, we don't need this digital to be in this digital database. Let's just create identification or whatever for people, for them to open bank accounts or whatever, apply for jobs, easier, because without identification, sometimes in the past back then, you would need to go to the police station to look up your record to see who you are. And then, like I said, then you take that letter to the employer stating that you are who you are. Right? They could make it that easy, but they want you in a digital system. But the opposition is in league with it. So the scripture says, he that justified, the wicked, and condemned the just, both is an abomination unto the Most High. And even in Isaiah, so like even in Isaiah 5:20, it says also, woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, and put darkness for light and light for darkness, and put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. So they're telling you that this thing is good, knowing that where it is going right to be, you're gonna have that corn chip in your hand, right? That MOTB in your hand is gonna, and in your brain. That is where it is going, but they are not telling people this. Even the opposition is saying that it's a good initiative. It's something good. And if you look at the language here to the bottom, I'm gonna read it again. It says, the opposition supports any proactive action that one may take to ensure that we can get individuals who do not have a birth certificate with one in their hand, just a side note, with one in their hand, so that MOTB will also have the birth certificate in their hand, so just a side comment, continuing on, almost done. It says, to be eligible for Operation Birthright, individuals have to be born in Jamaica, age 1 or above, have a monthly income of 37,000 or below, and should not be currently receiving similar assistance under another program. All right. It says, then it goes into here, recommendations Recommendations for program participation can also be made at the head of Jamaican Council. All right, so it's just telling you where you could go and sign up for it. Now, the majority of people is gonna take this thing, the elderly who need their retirement, the NIS, kind of like the social security over here. They would rather go and take that. And upon coming youth, you all already see how youths are tech savvy with the social media apps and the cell phone and stuff like that. And they're gonna run and take it to be part of the the system to work. They're gonna offer little resistance, but the majority of people is gonna take this. But the Most High, he talks about having a remnant in the book of Isaiah, chapter 10 and verse 20. Most High always has a remnant. It says, "And it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Israel and such as are escaped of the house of Israel shall no more again stay upon them that smote them." So we ain't going to have any more captivity under Esau, Edom, or any other nation, but shall stay upon the Lord, the Holy One of Israel, in truth. Right? And that is, in the kingdom. Once we're in the kingdom, no more captivity is going to take place. This is the last captivity. Right? So a lot of people is going to be taken by this operation, birthright. Right? But the most I have a remnant coming. Last portion of scripture I'm going to read in the book of Revelation, chapter 13, verse 16 to 17. It says, "And he caused it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their forehead, in their salak, in their right hand, or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or that number of his name." Now, it all starts in the island with this operation Birthright, getting the digital birth certificate and ID. And you already know that worldwide the digital currency is being pushed. And then eventually the mark, the MOTB, is going to take place. Now remember, in Genesis 25 and 29 to 34, it talk about Esau being faint from being in the field, and he begged Jacob to give him his lentil pottage, his red pottage, right, so to sustain himself. So he gave Jacob the birthright due to that. Now, the way Esau is moving with the fuel prices, right, the cost of living going up and switching everything digital, he is trying to make Jacob faint. So with all these things that is happening, the cost of living, and you all know that we are the poor in society, the most of Jacob, especially the tutors, is going to be faint, and they are going to run to Esau in like manner as Esau ran to Jacob when he was faint, right? And you all know by taking the MOTB is a sin that is not forgivable. The Most High doesn't forgive that, thereby giving back Esau his birthright. At least that is what he claimed. But it's not going to happen, because the Lord have a remnant according to Isaiah chapter 10, 20 to 21. Alright, so it's not going to happen. And I'm going to finish up in Job chapter 20 and verse 23. It says, "When he is about to fill his belly, the Most High shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him, and shall rain it upon him while he is eating." So when he think everything is good, when he have most of our people, in the region begging and lining up for his beast system, right, the Most High is going to flip that table on him and cast destruction upon him. You know what I mean? So Lord willing, we are part of the remnant, that precious ilk, that elect, that would be saved in these times. Lord willing, we will not be faint, and that we will endure until the end. All right, so I hope that this lesson was edifying. I give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai Bashim Kakadash, and I say Shalom.